IPMNation.com.
Living in a city, when you're in it, watch the people walk by. And if you listen real close, you can hear them talk about their lives. And some hate it, some love it, some are thought, some are just tired. These are the people in the neighborhood, they just trying to make it out right. See, she never wanted to.
Hey everybody, this is Dr. John Rich, and you've tuned in to Dr. John's Neighborhood. I'm happy to have you with me here again. The audience is growing, and the interest is as well. I've gotten a couple emails from a couple of you with some suggestions for shows or people that I should reach out to for interviews, and in the middle of looking into that. In addition, I'd like to just direct your attention to my website, drjohnrich.com. You can find information about my new book about parenting, find out some information about the counseling services that I can provide on a virtual basis, and also find some offers. I've been working with people on their finances, and there are some offers on my website where you can click through and get discounts or even free things to help you with some of the expenses of raising children. So check that out as well. If you wanted to get in touch with me, you can reach out to me at my email address, which is info@drjohnrich.com. So with all that aside, let's talk to my guest. I have on the line a very impressive teenager. A lot of my guests tend to be old people like me. And like I said, by the time you get to be my age, you have to have accomplished something. But when you're 18, the expectations that you're going to be doing anything beyond just hanging out with your friends and just living your life one day at a time are pretty minimal. And here we have on the line somebody who's started a business, who already, as a result of going to an early college high school, has her associate's degree at the age of 18. And she's just a well thought out person. I'm looking forward to our conversation. Her name is Miss Hannah Lassiter. Say hi, Hannah.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah. So we said we would start the show by you talking about why it is you reached out to me. You were on, I don't know what group you're in on Facebook, where I put out a query for people to be guests on the show. But you responded pretty quickly, and we thought that would be a good way to start the conversation. So you saw me asking for people to be guests. What is it about that that made you respond?
It made me respond because I believe it was in July when I did respond. And I responded because at that time I had already started my website for Mentorship Revolution. And I thought it was time as early as possible to get the word out that I was, creating a website and that I had an idea in mind for my business. Mm-hmm. And along with that, I know you had a psychology background, and I want to major in psychology when I go to when I start college.
Great. So so the website is mentorshiprevolution.com?
Yes. That's correct.
All right. And so if people go and check that out, what are they going to see?
Well, it's I think it has kind of like a blogging effect because it's under WordPress. It's affiliated with WordPress, the website that I created. So what they'll see is a lot of information about why I started it. They'll learn a little about me and my background. They'll also see like the logo. They'll see things like different. It's kind of like what I put out is motivational, or it's like it speaks to you. It's kind of like, if I could give an example. Sure. Okay. An example of what I put out is kind of like okay, this is an example of what I would put on my website. We are powerful creatures, but we are still imperfect also. mixed power with being human, and the result is big egos. It is okay, though, because along life's journey, we learn the strength in humility and surrender. So that's kind of like an example of what I would put out. But along with that, I do try to create like articles because I like to write.
Yeah.
And it's always connected to mentorship. It's always connected like to inspire people about what being a mentor really is.
So tell us about that. What is being a mentor? What does that involve?
Okay. Well, when I think of being a mentor, I think of someone who is not teaching. It could be teaching, but in a way, it's like someone who is helping someone else. Maybe they have like more age, experience, or wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think of. So I think of someone who is willing to teach and is someone who is willing to learn.
And so why did you become interested in that? Did you have a mentor in your life that really inspired you to want other people to experience what you experienced?
Yes, because, of course, when you go throughout school, you have teachers.
Mm-hmm.
But I think my high school years are when I started to think of them as mentors. And it wasn't even really primary teachers like they teach English or they teach science. It was more so like people I would see at school who had certain positions, but it wasn't a teacher. And you know how you just talk to people?
Yeah.
And sometimes when you just talk to people, if you become personal with them and, you develop a friendship, but they're so much older than you.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I use the term mentor.
So can you tell me about somebody? And if you're willing to use their name, we can give them a shout out for the influence they've had on your life.
Okay. Well, one example I would use, and I think this is probably one of the first that I had when I was in high school, is Mr. Gay. He's known as Mr. Gay to me.
Okay.
And I think this was my freshman year, and I was going through like a lot of peer pressure, and you know how you had certain friendships, but they fall apart. And I was just going through a hard season in my life. And at the time, I'm a Christian, so I have like a spiritual background.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, I met him that year because he was doing like I think you call it security when you have security at school.
Yeah.
And that was his position, but still he became some things that I would share with him, I wouldn't even share with a teacher or someone who really was around me.
Uh-huh.
So that's how he became like an important person in my life, because he could also relate to me faith-wise because he was a Christian, and he would always just have a word for me because he knew that I was a Christian. He knew that I leaned very heavily on that during that time in my life.
Are you willing to share any of the struggles that were going on with you at that time?
Yeah, well, I said that a friend that I had for a long time, me and her kind of fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
And it was unexpected because, we both had, when we started early college, we both thought it was good that we were starting early college together, even though we both had our own purpose and we both had, what we wanted to do when we got to early college is, still we had a friendship, and, that was unexpected for us to fall apart as we did.
How did it happen? What happened?
Well, I think what happened was when we got to early college, things started happening with me where, there was conflicts, like, certain things were said that I did that I didn't do. And, when it become like a lot of people do not like you, or a lot of people are saying she did this, that person can think that they have to make a choice. Do I be her friend, or do I stop being her friend because I don't want people not to like me?
I see.
Right. So it's kind of like, in a way, that got in between us. And that we had been through that many times before. And I don't know if maybe it was something she was going through in her life, so.
It reminds me of that, what's that show that's on Netflix that everyone was watching not too long ago about the girl who commits suicide because people are spreading all those false rumors about her?
Right.
Do you know?
It sounds familiar, but I don't think I remember the name.
I can't remember it. I even watched it. Anyway,
right.
Okay. So people were spreading these false rumors, and then she felt like she had to make a choice, and she made a choice that you didn't expect. And so that was just like a time of you were just grieving that friendship? Is that what was happening?
Right. And I never like to pinpoint it on one thing, because I feel like in life we have such complex lives that it's not just one thing that make a person feel down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't like to say it was just because I lost a friend, but maybe it was because I was transitioning from middle school to high school.
Yeah.
But what was also interesting with you saying that, we had a fallout because of the rumors and stuff. Mm-hmm. At the same time, though, I've never been the one to ask a person why you're not my friend anymore. Because, I don't really feel that it's probably because I never asked her. Like, I never knew why. We just stopped talking, So I never really asked her. I just assumed. But I wouldn't say I just assumed, but I put together what I saw, and that's the conclusion that I made.
Okay.
Right.
And are you sure that wasn't a misunderstanding? Are you sure that maybe she's thinking, I wonder why she stopped being my friend? Is it possible that both of you are under the impression that the other one severed the friendship and you're just waiting for somebody to have the guts to bring it up?
Right. Well, I don't blame her alone, but I say that it's not just a one-person thing, but I think the conclusion I made was right, because when I talked to her, I noticed a change as we went on to our sophomore and stuff. Yeah, we were around each other a lot, because in early college, compared to having like 100, 200 people in one grade, you have only like 24 people in my graduating class. So we had a very small class, and we were always around each other, but it was like a close-off with her. Compared to when we used to have a friendship and we were open and laughing, it became like she didn't know me, and she acted that way towards me, so I gave it back to her.
I see. Okay.
Right.
So let's just pretend, what if she called you today and said, hey, I want to meet up and try to be friends again. Would you be willing?
I'm a friendly person, and that's just how I am to this day, but I wouldn't want to be friends or best. I wouldn't want to be best friends with her. I wouldn't say I wouldn't be a friend to her, because I say I'm friendly, but I would never see her the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not going to stay on that for too long, but it sounds like there are details there that we don't know, and sound like a pretty interesting story. But let's go back to Mr. Gay. So how did Mr. Gay even know that anything was going on with you? Did you have a relationship with him, like a friendly relationship, before the friendship got in trouble?
No, I actually met him. I met him like right that freshman year, and it was probably towards the end of the school year that I met him. And because he had replaced another security guard. Mm-hmm. And what happened was, like I said, I really believe it was like a spiritual meeting. I feel like it was God that sent him my way, because, like I said, peer-wise, it wasn't going good. I think with my peers, things weren't the way that they should have been. It was like I said, it was tension. Mm-hmm. So I think it was more of a he was just sitting there to help me. He was there doing his job, but we just had a connection. And I think that what it was is maybe he had been through that before, or he was going through something like that similar. But, me being so much younger than him, because he was an older man, I think that he was able to sympathize with me and give me what I needed to hear, because he was older and wiser.
But how did the topic even come up? He's just a security guard.
Well, I think what it is I know that what he told me to this day, he said that during that time in my life, I seemed to be sad, or he could just see it like that. And I really, at the time, I knew how that felt to be hurt like that, but I really didn't know that it was on my face. But usually other people can see the change, and he said that he really see a difference in me now than when I was my freshman year, when all of that stuff was happening.
Yeah. Well, so that tells me a number of things. One is that he had noticed you before you became upset, to be able to draw the contrast, he must have noticed you as somebody special or somebody noteworthy or something like that. Second of all, that he was able to see, like you said, what did you say? He saw, you didn't know you were showing it on your face or something?
Yeah. Like he saw this sad, I already stood out from my peers because I don't really know what words you would use, but I already was a standout person.
Okay, why is that? So, what makes you so stand out?
I say I stand out because, for one, I don't go along with what everyone else does.
Okay.
So I am kind of like a more, I don't know if you would say solitude, but I don't join in with the craziness that young people can do. Maybe I don't participate in that.
Okay.
Right. So I think, like, you know, a lot of times you see that one person alone and you're like, why is everyone over there doing this and that person is over here by themselves doing this?
I see. Okay.
Right.
Interesting. So he noticed you from before, maybe because you're a standout person. And then he noticed that something had changed. But the third thing that makes him especially interesting is that he took the time to ask about it. You know, like I might run into people throughout my day, and maybe I can tell that somebody's sad, but I don't bother to, you know, well, what's going on? Tell me, why don't you sit down? You know, like there are plenty of people, you can tell someone's sad and you'd rather not be bothered. So the fact that the man had the compassion to give you his energy and his time is pretty interesting.
It's very interesting, and that's why to this day I still talk to him. And like I said, I did not know him prior. I met him my freshman year, and we still. He knew about me though. He said that he knew that I was special. Like he said, he felt like I was, you know, anointed. You know how when you're, you know, that's a Christian terms, but still, that's what he said about me. He just knew that, you know, because but I think what it was is, like I said, I had always been more of a leader person, so I wasn't really over there with the crowd. But I think what he noticed is there was probably a sadness attached to it now. Uh-huh. Right, compared to me just being alone doing my own thing, he noticed that I probably looked a little bit more hurt or something.
Okay, so let's go back in time. Let's talk about little Hannah. You know, Hannah's 4 or 5 or 6 or 7. You know, Hannah when she's a little girl. Like, what is it about the way you were raised or your situation that you think makes you this kind of person that doesn't go along with the crowd?
Okay. Well, if I go back to me when I was 4 or 5 or 6, I think the picture image of what you would see as a child. Like, I really, those were years for me where I just felt like a child. I didn't feel nothing that I feel now. Mm-hmm. I just felt like a child, like, and those were happy years to me. I think those were happy years.
Okay. And so, tell me about your parents. How were your parents?
Well, my mom is a military. She was in the military. Mm-hmm. So I was actually raised by my aunt. So she was like a mom to me.
Okay.
So, I was staying with her. Me and my older sister. I have 2 other sisters, but this is the second oldest. So it was like the way that those years were, I just felt like all I did was I knew how to do certain things that you know how to do by that age, but I was still like well taken, well protected. You know, just I didn't have to worry about anything really.
Well, that's good. So, yeah, I mean, all the. Go ahead.
Those were good years for me, and I love reading. Reading was a habit. Reading was a habit that I picked up at a very young age, and I think by the age of 6, I was already reading chapter books. So.
Very good. Good for you. Yeah, I was an early reader as well. But so I still want to keep talking about you being a nonconformist. And when you start really taking psych courses, you're going to hear that study after study shows that when you put people in a situation where they feel the pressure to go along with what everyone else is doing, that the vast majority of people will do that to avoid the anxiety that people feel when they have to go against the crowd. And so you're describing yourself as somebody who is able to do that, and I want to dive a little deeper and try to figure out where that comes from. You didn't create that out of nowhere. You saw that saw that emulated from people in your life when you were younger, and you learned lessons maybe from your reading or maybe from other mentors or whatever. So where does that strength come from? Because it's unusual.
Right. Well, okay. And that was another thing. I think up to a certain age, I knew how to blend in really well. Like, you could put me outside on the playground and I would want to join in with the other kids.
Okay.
So I would say up until probably my 4th grade year, that probably was when I started feeling the most change.
Mm-hmm. What happened? What happened in 4th grade?
Well, in 4th grade, you know what starts happening around that age. I think adolescent. I don't know if you would call it adolescence, but
yeah, you're probably 9 years old. That's a little early for that.
Yeah, but I know for me, maybe that could have been the case. I was early. I don't really know. Okay. But there started being a lot of changes.
All right.
Right. So it started being a lot of changes in my life, and I don't really know. It became like a feeling thing, a mood thing, emotional. I don't really know. But, there just started being changes where maybe I liked, at the time, I don't know if I thought it was depression. I don't know. It's kind of hard, but
well, these are the things when you get into your psych classes that they're going to make you, you're going to have to try to figure out some of these influences. What about your aunt? Tell me about your aunt. Is your aunt somebody who is willing to say no when the rest of the crowd is wanting to do certain things?
Oh, well, my aunt, like I said, she was like a mother to me, and we had a very good relationship. What I would say about her is, at the time, we were living like it. I guess you would call it a one parent because it was me, my sister, and her.
Mm-hmm.
So, she was working a job, and it wasn't right up the street. So a lot of times when she would go to work, we would go stay with my grandparents. So, I think that with her, she was I don't know if you would call it, when I came along, she was a little bit, like probably in her 40s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that does make a difference too.
Okay.
Well, when you have like a parent who was a little wiser and they've already been through this before, they may be a little better in training a child, if you get what I'm saying.
I do, yeah.
Right.
I mean, somewhere along the line, you received what psychologists call protective factors. Something happened, or somebody came into your life, or a series of people came into your life to give you the resilience to bounce back from the typical issues that teenagers are going to have to deal with.
Right. And that's the thing. I've never put me on one person. I've never said that, well, this person is the reason why I'm like this.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really been like that because I've always, well, for one thing, I might be, I don't know if you would call me an introvert. At one point, I was very determined that I was an introvert. But I know I do have characteristics that some people say I can talk, like I'm a good talker.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if introverts are very talkative. I think that's not what an introvert is, but
Well, the fact that you're working on something where you're encouraging people to be mentors or to find a mentor says to me that you have experienced some pretty good mentors yourself. So we talked about Mr. Gay. You also talked about, was it a 6th grade teacher? This was before the show. A 6th grade teacher who then ended up...
Mrs. Beagley. Mrs. Beagley.
Beagley. So tell me about her. What is it that she did for you? Why is she such an important figure for you?
Well, Mrs. Beasley was my 6th grade teacher, and I think 6th grade and up was interesting in my life because it was pretty much, you're at 12 and 13, so you're becoming a teenager. And she was a good teacher. Like, it's just, it's like she was, I wouldn't say stern, but you know how, like, I was a very good student, but you know how some teachers, they're not going to boast their ego, boast their ego.
Okay, all right.
But I think that's what I remember her for, because even though I was a good student, she knew how to say, Hannah, you're doing this, or Hannah, you get what I'm saying?
I do, okay.
She still knew how to pick up on when I was acting like a kid, maybe.
I see. Can you give us a story? Tell us a story. Do you have a memory of a story when she did that?
Let me think of a memory. Okay, if I could give an example, okay, what we would do is, I was a honor roll student, so, you have honor roll throughout certain, every 9 weeks, you have an honor roll ceremony. So what we did in that elementary school, because at that time 6th grade was in the elementary school, what we did was at the end of the 9 weeks, we would always have like a honor roll ceremony where only the honor roll students went to, and they would serve like ice cream, and they'll just let us talk and do things like that. Very different from just sitting in the classroom.
Yeah. So
I was always expected, and a lot of times, even if you were on, I think in this case, I may not have, I'm trying to remember, because I think behavior was also a factor. So say like you was on honor roll, I think they also looked at behavior too, about whether you attended this ceremony. But in this case, even though I always went before, this time my name wasn't called. Okay. And I think it was very surprising for me and everyone else, because usually, like, if you're a student that's always called, everyone always expect your name to be called. Yeah. So what happened was my name wasn't called in this case, and I think what I remember her kind of saying is that something had changed. Maybe I was talking too much. I can't really remember what it was. Okay. But I think the reason why I say this is because I always thought I was a perfect student. Like you said, I thought I was a standout student, and I was smart. Like I was, my study behaviors, my academic, that did help me stand out. But I think also what was a learning lesson is that you can be smart, but still certain other things matter too.
It's interesting that she would be someone who stands out to you in a positive way, considering that a lot of people would probably have interpreted that as a betrayal.
And I think maybe at the time I was a teenager. Well, I was a younger person, so I did probably see it as being like too serious or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I think looking back at it now and seeing that our relationship still continues, I know that she had good intentions. Yeah. Right. So.
Yeah, I know I had a student once who she was in her senior year. She was needing to graduate. She was in my class, and all she had to do was pass my class, and she wasn't showing up to class. And then when she would show up to class, she would, did some kind of like half-assed job on her work. And I remember pulling her into my office and just saying, like, look, you're about to fuck up here, and you better figure it out, because you're thinking that you're going to graduate, but I'm not going to graduate you unless you pull out the last ditch effort here and figure it out. And I know that she was mad at me. She walked out of there very angry. But then later she wrote me a letter and told me that was an important conversation for her, that she was happy that I had done that. So sometimes our mentors are people who were willing to be the bad guy in order to teach us something, to make us a better person.
That's right.
Yeah. So let's just talk about this early college experience. We'll end with the show with that. So you had an opportunity for some reason, I guess because of your grades, to take college level courses while you were still in high school. And
Right.
you actually have quite an accomplishment for an 18-year-old. Can you tell us about that?
Okay. Well, my early college is, I decided to go to early college because I felt that where I was going in my life, I didn't see myself being all that I wanted to be at the high school. Because, it could have also been I just felt more mature, and I felt like I wanted more of a challenge, that I was ready to go ahead and get it. That, I always knew I was going to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
So I said I was ready to go ahead and start. So that's the reason why I chose early college, because I didn't feel like I was going to miss anything that the high school had. So that's the reason why I went ahead and chose early college.
I'll tell you, that makes you unusual too, because a lot of people, especially teenagers, are looking for the easiest path, and you're saying
Right.
that you wanted to go after the challenge. So that's also just, there are things about you that make you stand out, like you said, and
Right.
would be interesting for you to explore those through some journaling or something like that to try to figure out exactly, where that came from.
Right. Oh, I do journaling. I've been doing journaling since I was in 5th grade,
Uh-huh.
but I'm very serious with my journaling.
Yeah.
And I do journaling, but along with the early college thing, it's actually a 5-year program, but you can graduate within 4 years like I did.
Uh-huh.
And then the purpose is for you to go ahead and get your degree, but there will be some early college students who graduate without a degree.
But you got a degree, right?
Right.
You
but
just
I mean,
finished.
that's the intention for you to get it, but everyone don't always meet their goal.
So what's your degree in?
My degree is in arts.
Okay, and it's an associate's degree, right?
Yeah, that's an associate's degree.
And then what you'll have the opportunity to do is transfer a lot of those credits into a 4-year college?
Yep, that's right.
So are you going to college in the fall?
Yes, I'll be starting in a few days on the 17th.
Oh.
And I'll be starting at Lenore Ryan University. It's in Hickory, North Carolina.
Okay.
It's a private Christian college, so it fits right into what I would want.
Okay. And you want to go into psychology?
Yes, and I will do a minor in education.
So what do you want to do when you get that degree?
When I get my degree, I know that getting my master's could be the next step that I take.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to say that I can look that far, but after getting my degree, I would want to, go ahead and start work, doing whatever, what happened, getting my job, my career really moving.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, I could just go ahead and get my master's. So it's like there's more than one choice that could be made.
Yeah. But it sounds
Right,
like whatever it is, psychology is giving you a path to be a mentor to other people.
Right, and it would really fit into what I could see myself doing, because I am a person like that I don't mind sharing my story, and I don't mind being able to, I like talking to other people. Mm-hmm. So I don't mind. I can see myself doing that.
Great. All right, well, so tell us one more time where people can find you if they want to reach out to you and give you some words of encouragement or sign up for your Facebook page or whatever. Give us some, how do people find where you are?
Well, right now I am Mentorship Revolution. That's very important to me. So if you want to go to that website, I think he's already mentioned that. Mm-hmm. And then I have an Instagram. It's Hannah Ayana. It's Hannah Hannah. Ayana is Ayana, and that's where I have all of the mentorship stuff on Instagram. Okay. And then on Facebook, it will be under Mentor. Uh-huh. And email is Mentorship Revolution 24.7@gmail.com.
All right. Great. Well, I encourage my listeners to reach out if you're interested in getting a mentor, or if you're interested in being a mentor, or talking with Hannah about mentorship, if that's an important topic for you. Feel free to reach out to her. Hannah, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you, too, for having me.
Yeah. So once again, this is Dr. John Rich. I'm about to sign out. Reach out to me, info@drjohnrich.com if you're interested in knowing more about what I do or being on the show yourself, or I'm always looking for advertisers. If you're an company out there and you wanted to buy some advertising time, I'm open to that. But just generally interested in who you are and what's going on, feel free to reach out. Until next week, this is Dr. John Rich at Dr. John's Neighborhood. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Living in a city, when you're in it, watch the people walk by. And if you listen real close, you can hear them talk about their lives. And some hate it, some love it, some are felt, some are just tired. These are the people in the neighborhood, they just trying to make it out right. See, she never wanna be a new IPMNation.com.